I open it for all. Your camera is off, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to turn it on. It says you cannot start because the host has stopped it. I think.
Forbid change. Stop. אוקיי, למי שיצטרף, בינתיים אני אסביר קצת איך עובד פה העניין. יש למטה בסרגל התחתון, יש לכם אפשרות ל-Q&A, question and answers, שאתם יכולים להעלות שאלות במהלך הוובינר. הוובינר יהיה בסביבות השעה, פלוס מינוס. אני רואה שמצטרפים לנו עוד משתתפים. ערב טוב, אלי. ערב טוב, אנדרי, איילה, דניאל, אפרת, יבגני, גיל, מיכאל, נדב, ניר, ידידי, מה קורה? ניר שפירה, וניר רובינסון, ויובל, ידידי, מה שלומך? תודה לכם, תודה שהצטרפתם, תודה מיכאל. גם העברתי את השאלות שלך לידידנו מניו זילנד. תכף אני אעביר את המיקרופון אליו. כמה דברים לפני זה, אני רואה שעדיין מצטרפים עוד הרבה אנשים, אז נחכה עוד דקה-שתיים, ברשותכם. אוקיי, אז אני אסביר קצת רקע, איך אני הגעתי בכלל לפנות למר ראזה, ידידי מניו זילנד, שהערנו אותו היום די מוקדם, אצלם זה 5 בבוקר. יש לנו קבוצה שנקראת, אני אשתף את המסך שלי רגע, קבוצה שנקראת הקבוצה הישראלית למשתמשי פאוור BI, וכחלק מהקבוצה זה בעצם פורום בינלאומי, יש קבוצות בכל העולם, אתם מוזמנים גם כן להצטרף כמובן לקבוצה הזאת, זה נקרא פאוור BI User Group, אני אשים לכם גם קישור למטה, איפה שיש את האפשרות הזאת, ובעצם הוא העלה איזשהו פוסט שהוא מוכן להשתתף בוובינרים בכל העולם. מי שלא מכיר אותו, מי שלא יודע, זה בעצם אחד הגורואים הכי גדולים בעולם בנושא של פאוור BI. הוא כתב החל ממאמרים ועד ממש ספרים. אחד הספרים האחרונים שהוא הוציא, זה בעצם הספר הזה. אני לא יודע אם אתם רואים את זה, זה ככה, אוקיי. אוקיי, הספר הזה נקרא Row Level Security in Power BI, ספר שמבוסס על בעצם מאמרים שהוא כתב, הוא ערך את הכל בספר אחד, ובוא נעשה choose, אוקיי, נעשה none. אוקיי, אני חושב שעכשיו אתם תראו קצת יותר טוב. אוקיי, זה הספר שלו, והספר הזה, רכשתי אותו, הוא הגיע לידיי, ובעצם כאשר הוא העלה את הפוסט הזה בקבוצה, פשוט פניתי אליו, והוא בשמחה, הוא נאות להשתתף בתוך הוובינר. אמרתי שיש לנו פה בישראל הרבה משתמשים של פאוור BI, זה נושא שהוא חם עכשיו, זה נושא שהמון אנשים היום נכנסים לנושא הזה ולתחום הזה, גם אנשים שהם אנליסטים, גם אנשי כספים, גם אנשים שהשתמשו בעצם עד היום באקסל, ועוברים לפלטפורמה הזאת של Power BI. אם אתם לא מכירים או לא יודעים מה זה Power BI, כמובן שיש ברשת כבר המון חומר על Power BI, גם אתרים רשמיים של מייקרוסופט, וגם הרבה ערוצי יוטיוב, אחד מהם, ואני אשתף שנייה את המסך שלי שוב פעם, אוקיי, אז אחד מהם זה בעצם הקבוצה או הערוץ של Power BI ישראל, שאני מנהל אותו. זה ערוץ שהוא יחסית חדש, אתם רואים שיש מעט מאוד מינויים בינתיים, אבל הערוץ הזה יגדל במשך הזמן, ואני אעלה עוד ועוד נושאים לערוץ הזה. אגב, המשדר הזה, או השידור הזה בעצם מועבר באופן ישיר ליוטיוב כרגע, וגם אחר כך אני אעלה הקלטה לתוך הערוץ הזה. ודבר אחרון, זה האתר של ראזה, החברה שלו נקראת רדקד, היא בעצם חברת ייעוץ והדרכה וכל מה שקשור ל-Power BI וגם AI, אוקיי? יש לו שותפה שהיא חזקה מאוד ב-AI, Artificial Intelligence, בינה מלאכותית, והיא מעבירה הדרכות והרצאות וכל מיני דברים כאלה בכל העולם בתחום הזה. מי שישאר עד סוף הוובינר, יש לי גם איזושהי הצעה לקורס שאני מעביר, שאני מתחיל להעביר אותו אונליין בגלל המצב, קורס של Power BI למתחילים, ואני מלמד שם את כל מה שקשור ל-Power BI, מההתחלה ועד הסוף, איך בונים בעצם מערכת ב-Power BI, כולל נוסחאות דאקס, הבסיס שלהם. אני אשמח אם תצטרפו, אני אשאיר לכם גם קישור בתוך הצ'אט, קישור עם איזשהו בונוס מסוים של מי שמשתתף בוובינר הזה. אז אני מעביר את המיקרופון לידידי ראזה, שהוא ידבר על הנושא הזה של Row Level Security, שזה בעצם הבטחת מידע ברמת השורה, כשהמטרה זה בעצם ליצור דשבורד אחד שכמה משתתפים, מספר משתתפים נכנסים לדשבורד, וכל אחד רואה בצורה ממודרת רק את הנתונים שלו. אז הוא בעצם יסביר לנו איך אנחנו עושים את זה, הוא מדבר על זה גם בספר שלו, ואני אעביר את המיקרופון אליו. Hello, Reza, how are you?
Great, thank you. Thanks for the introduction.
Thank you for joining us in this webinar for the Israeli viewers. I told them that you are speaking from New Zealand, that it's 5 o'clock now, and you are still at home like us because the coronavirus.
Yeah, it is a lockdown.
Yeah, we locked down all. And Mike is yours. Great.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for the introduction, and thank you everyone for attending. I realize Shalomi said that it is Eve, so happy Eve or your special day. Okay, I'll share my screen in a second. And thank you for mentioning my book as well. Okay, right. So where is the slideshow? Here it is, from current slide. Okay. As you already know, I'm Raza. I'm based in New Zealand. Very happy to be with you today. I'm a Power BI consultant and trainer. Before this virus take over the world, I've been traveling around doing conferences, sessions, and trainings in person. These days, mostly at home, doing a lot of remote training and consulting. This session is about unleashing row-level security patterns in Power BI, which is quite, let's say, fast run through of some row-level security patterns. When we talk about row-level security in Power BI, you need to somehow work with DAX. So this session involves some DAX scripts. If you haven't worked with DAX before, I'll try to make that as simple as possible to understand. And you can follow these more in details using the links at the end of the slide deck that I will send later on as well. Okay, yep, I've done my introduction already. These are ways that you can contact me if you have any questions. And I've written some books. Some of them are free, available in our website. You can go and download them. Okay, so let's talk about row-level security. I'll do my best to finish this in, let's say, 40 minutes, and then we'll have 10 minutes for Q&A. But if we get any questions through the sessions, just feel free to let me know. Okay, what is row-level security? When we talk about row-level security, a lot of people think security means sharing who has access to which report. That is sharing. That is security of the report. When you create a Power BI app, when you publish an app in Power BI website, when you share a report with someone, when you create a workspace, all of those methods are talking about who will have access to that individual report or not, right? Security or row-level security is not about that. Row-level security is talking about this concept that, let's say we have multiple users accessing the same report, but they will see different content. It's exactly the same report, exactly the same data, but when they log in, for example, sales manager of United States will see United States data, sales manager of UK will see UK's data. There is a different view of the people, or let's say different levels of access for the people of the same content. This is what we call row-level security. And the reason that it is called row-level security is that because we apply a filter on a data row level, that is why it's called row level. It's not role level, but it works with the concept of role, right? That is the name. Let's pass from the name part. Okay, now I mean, my sessions mostly are demos, not that many slides. So let's start that with the very first demo. So I'll start that with the very first demo of a simple Power BI report. Let me just open that. This would be using a sample data set which has sales information in it. I'm just waiting for that to be open. While that is opening, I'll also open a new Power BI desktop window. The sales dataset that I'm using for this example is AdventureWorks dataset, which you can find it everywhere. You can even download it from my blog articles. Okay, let me see. I think I found it. It is in a different window. Okay, let me bring it over here. Okay, so this is my Power BI report. This is a Power BI report. I have just two tables here. One table is sales table. Let me make it bigger. One table is sales table. This has all the sales information, sales amount and things like that. Another table is my dimension, sales territory. This dimension has information like which country, which region, things like that. And there's a relationship between these two tables, right? Now, when we have a relationship in Power BI, relationship defines the way that filtering applies in Power BI. So I'll go to the table view here and I show what the sales territory table looks like. This is what the sales territory table looks like. You see here that we have some fields. Among those fields, I also have this column that says which country. And you can see that we have different countries, for example, United States, UK, Canada, Germany, all those kind of information. Now, I have a report like this, which is basically a column chart. This has all the countries here and the sales amount of these countries, and this is the total sales. Now, what I want is when users log into this report, when they see this report in Power BI website or using their app, they will see only those countries that they are allowed to see, not all the countries, right? Only those countries that they are allowed to see. Okay, now let's say, for example, let's consider this for one of the countries. Let's say for Germany, we want people to see, when they log in, they only see Germany's data. So of course, we have Germany as a country in the sales territory, right? That represents this line, right? Now, if I define a filter on this table, that automatically apply a filter on the other table. That is the meaning of a relationship in Power BI. It means that if I filter this table, that the country is Germany, as a result, the other table would say the country is Germany. That is the whole meaning of a relationship in Power BI, right? Especially the direction of relationship. This means that this table will filter that table. So I need to find a way to say that this table should be filtered for Germany, right? And the place that you do this configuration is at the top here. There's a button for security configuration. And under that is manage roles. So we'll go to create a role. Now I already have 2 roles, but I'm going to remove them and add them again so that you can see how it's easy to create a role. So here is, let's say, how it looks like at the beginning. I'll create a role. Let's say I call it USA Sales Manager. Now I will see all the tables that I have in my data model. I just select the table that I want to filter. In this case, this would be my sales territory table. And here you write your filter as a DAX expression. Now, for this, my DAX expression would be very simple. It would be sales territory country is equal to United States or USA, as it looks in the table, of course. You can write it there, or you can click on this 3 dots here, add filter, select the field that you want. This is helping you to write that expression. And then change the value here to USA, right? Check mark to make sure that we don't have any syntax error. And I'll do just one more for, let's say, Canada, which would be the same thing. It would be add filter to country. This time, country is Canada, right? So nothing really complicated, very simple. I just define 2 roles, and you can, usually you should define all countries as a role here. But let's say for now, these 2 are enough for this example. Then I save this. Right now, my report has row level security configuration in it, but whenever I go to the report view, I still see the entire data because Power BI Desktop is for developers. Everyone would be able to see all the data because this is a developer environment, but you can test it. You can see what it would look like if a user log in here. I can go to under security, this time view as. So I can view this report as a user. I can say, okay, what a USA sales manager will see. And here I see, okay, I think I typed it probably wrong. Let me just see, because it should see something. USA sales manager, sales territory country, USA. Okay. Sales territory country is Canada, and this is USA. Let me just try that with Canada. Maybe I typed it incorrectly. Yeah, it shows Canada, but probably USA is a little bit different. Oh yeah, it is called United States, not USA. Okay, right, so copy that. So here you can see that it is quite important that you have exactly the same value, right? So here I changed this to, typing it, United States. Okay, right, save, going back here again and testing it one more time. So USA, That's only United States. You see the total is also United States, 53 million. Or I can change it to Canada. That's Canada, total is 14 million, whatever, right? Now, this is not yet assigned to users. This is just for our own testing. But what if I want to assign these to users? So I can publish this. Part of row-level security is in Power BI desktop, configuring this. Part of that is in the website. So I'll go ahead and publish this solution. Save it, of course. You can publish it to a workspace. You can publish it anywhere you like. I publish it just to my workspace. Replace the existing one that we have. And I already have an existing one. That's why you see it is saying replace. Now, while that is publishing, I'll open my Power BI website. Signing in. Okay. Okay, that seems to be in a different window. Let me bring it to this window. Okay, under my workspace, and I think it was called static, something like that, right here. This is the report. Now, the person who published the report is report owner. So you see that I still see all the countries regardless of row-level security because I'm the report owner. But I can configure the security of this for all others who have access to this. And that can be done in here, view related. Security configuration is something you have to configure on the data set level, not the report level. So I'll go to view related. That way I can see what is the data set related to this. You see this is the data set, and I click on here and I go to security. Now in the security, I see that I have two roles. These are exactly those two roles that we have defined in the desktop. And here we assign people to this. Best practice is to assign groups here, security groups, because then you can manage easily those groups, add and remove people from them as soon as they leave the company or someone new added to the company. But for testing, for simple testing here, I just enter the email address individually. So let's say this is my other account, right? And I say this account is the USA sales manager and save it. Now, in addition to this action, so this, whenever this account see this report would be seeing it as a USA sales manager, I should also share this report. So I just share this report with that account as well. I think it is already shared with that account. Okay, so let me go to the other account and I use Edge for the other account. Logging into Power BI. Oh, it is already opening Power BI. Okay, so let me go to shared with me. Okay, and this should be called static, something like that. Or let me just unshare it and share it again so it appears one more time. Yep, remove access, okay. And then share again. And let's say I don't give this user any specific access. And this is the user, share. Okay, now because I shared it just right now, this time it should appear right at the top. Still not here, static. That's a problem of sharing too many reports with another account. I could publish it as an app as well. If I can, oh yeah, I found it just right here. Okay, so when I open that report, you see that this user view of the report is just United States. Total of United States, this user have no idea that there are other countries in this in this report as well. It's just United States and just that part of data. If I have any other information in the report, it would be all filtered for United States. Now, as a account that has control of this configuration, I can go to here and I can even change it and say, okay, that user is also now added to Canada. So that user is now part of Canada and United States now. And as soon as I refresh this one, this user will see the new data coming in. So Canada and United States, the total 67 million, but it still is not the grand total, because the grand total should be 80 million, right? So that's a very simple row-level security configuration. With just a couple of filters, we defined a row-level security that everyone see the data that they should. This method is a very basic implementation of row-level security. Why basic, and what are problems with that? One of the problems of this method is that I have right now 6 countries in this sales information. Let's say in a couple of weeks, this company opens a branch in South Africa, right? Then I have to go to manage roles, add South Africa, add a role for South Africa, publish it, add users to that role. After a couple of weeks, this company opens a role, a branch in China. Again, I should go and add a role for China, publish it again, add users under that, right? I should keep maintaining this as we go, as we move on, as we have more roles requests in this configuration. Because of that, we call this static row-level security. And the reason for that is that we define these filters statically. Here I said that this is equal Canada. This is hard-coded, defined here directly, right? And that is why we call it static row-level security, because statically we say this, see that, this is that, right? Which is fine. I mean, it's simple for scenarios that you have only a few roles and you don't expect that much change on those. That works really fine. But if you have so many changes, like a company is added every couple of days, right? Or let's say you are building a Power BI report for an HR system, human resource, or payroll specifically, let's say you are building a Power BI solution for a company with 10,000 employees. And everyone, when they go to Power BI payroll, they want to see their own payment information, right? They would love to see each other's payment information as well, but let's say they want to see their own payment information. And it is not a good practice to go and add 10,000 roles here, right? So what we do in those scenarios, we implement something different, which is called dynamic row-level security. And the difference between static row-level security and dynamic row-level security is that in the dynamic row-level security, the logic of defining security is in our data model. Here you see that our data model is a very simple data model. It has sales table and territory table. It doesn't have the concept of user in it. But in dynamic row-level security, I will have the concept of user and who logs into the system. Okay, so let me bring an example of that. Let me close this and let's talk about our first dynamic row-level security option. So yeah, dynamic row-level security, and let's see if I have any example open here. No, let me open just that one from the beginning. Okay, as I said, when we talk about dynamic row-level security, we always have a user table. Now this user table, some people prefer this to be just a field in other tables. Some people usually have a separate user table. This user table should have email address of the people, and that email address should be their user login to Power BI, right? So their Power BI email, let's say. So my tables this time looks like this. Still very simple configuration. I have 2 tables, a sales rep table and a sales transaction table. Now let me show you the data in these tables. So sales rep table is this. It's ID, email, and the name of the people. This is the important part. This should be their Power BI account. So for example, if you are using Power BI report server, this won't be their email account. This would be their domain users, right? If you use Power BI website, this is their email account that they log into Power BI with. If you are sharing this with people outside of organization, this would be the email account associated with them inside your organizations. Because usually when you share a report with someone outside of your organization, there will be a guest account created in your organization with their name. So that would be that guest email account. Okay, so this is my user table, or let's call it sales rep table. These are sales rep people. And then I have sales transaction, which is the date of transaction, the sales amount of that transaction, and who made this transaction, the sales rep. And this is the link back to the sales rep table. So these two are connected using that sales rep ID. And the email is over there, right? So having a configuration like this, if I can filter this, save this table and say, in the sales rep table, we will see only, filter this only for the person or sales rep whose their email is the email of the person logged in to the report, right? That way, this table will get filtered. Let's say if Reza logged in, this will show only Reza. And as a result, sales transaction would be only sales transactions of Reza because of the relationship, of course. Relationship is a very important part of role-based security, right? Okay, now how can I do that? Let me go to my report. So I have a report like this, right? This is a visualization, a table visual. It just brings all the fields from these tables. In sales rep name, email, year, all those kind of information, their sales amount, right? Now we have a way to identify who logged into the system. And I just show you that as a measure. We don't really need that as a measure, but I just show you that so that you can see how this is working, right? So I create a measure here. I call it user. And there are two functions, username or user principal name. These two functions will give you the username. User principal name usually works a little bit better because it works even if you are using this in a, let's say, scenario that username returns the local user, right? So I'll use that. User principal name, no input, nothing. User principal name just like that. And this is not case sensitive. DAX is not case sensitive. I'll show that as a card visual here. And here you can see that this user is the user logged into my local Windows, right? So this is my local Windows machine name, and this is my user, right? But this is only here when I am using Power BI Desktop logged into my system. If I publish this into the service, and let me do that. So without any role-based security configuration, I just want to show you that what this user will look like in the service, right? So I can go to the, publish it to my workspace. And open that in Power BI. So it has no role-based security. I'll see everything, but here you can see that my email is now changed, right? This is the email of the user logged in to Power BI. So you see that this has a way to identify who logged into the system, right? Now, when I have the way to understand who logged into the system, all I need to do is to say this email field should match that value, right? Of course, I don't have anything with that value, but I'll show you how it looks like anyway. So here I can do this. I can go to modeling tab, manage roles. I can create a role. Let's call it user. And the table that I'm filtering is the table that has the email field in it, which would be sales rep. I add a filter. I say filter the email field, and the email field should be equal to, you can say that user measure, but I've just created this to show you how it works. You don't really need that measure. You can basically say user principal name directly over here, right? Validated, it is working just fine, right? Okay, now if I say view as roles, right now, what I would see, I won't see anything because this user doesn't exist here, right? I have email account here, but I'll just view as role to show you how it looks like. Then I'll change that table and you'll see that it is changing, right? So here you see that I see nothing because there is no information saying that this is that user. Now, what I'll do is I'll go and change this, this source. Let me go and find where the source is. Data source settings. So this source is in my Dropbox. Okay, let's go and copy path to clipboard. I'll open it in my file explorer. Okay, so let me just change the path to something that I know is working, and I'll bring that DRLS here as well. Okay, I'm using this one and I'm changing this and saying that, okay, what was my user here? I think that was Reza-Zembuk. Okay, too many windows here. So that is Zembuk / okay. Okay, so this is like that. And this only works in Power BI Desktop right now because I'm showing this in Power BI Desktop. If I'm working with Power BI website, that configuration was just fine, right? Okay, so I save this, and this time I changed that source to be using this one. And let's do apply changes. Okay, so this time you see that this is my updated account, and whenever I say, okay, go view as role, and I choose this user will see only this user account. And when I publish this, it would be the same. Every user will see their own accounts. Now, the good thing about this method is that why dynamic role level security is better, because I don't really need more than one role. I just need one single role. And when I publish it to the website, let's go to the one that is published to the website, and that is still the one with this email account, right? When I publish this to the website, when I go to the data set, to the security, okay, yeah, this is because I haven't defined any RLS on that yet. But let's say I had defined role level security on that, then the thing about the role level security on that was that if I wanted to assign users to that, I didn't assign user one by one in that scenario. In that scenario, you assign all users to that role. You basically create a group of all users, you assign them all to this role. And there's no problem with that because everyone will see their own data. If they don't have a record in this table, they won't see anything at all, right? That's a good thing about dynamic role level security. You have your role level security configuration in your data model so that you don't really need to change this every time a new role is added. Every time you want someone new in this table, you just add them into your table. And in Power BI, you can use different ways to get all email accounts of people from Exchange and things like that using Power BI Get Data experience, right? So this is called dynamic role level security, but it is in fact a very simple dynamic role-level security. What I told you here is that we have just two tables, and this table filters that table. Now, the fact is that in real world, dynamic role-level security patterns are not that simple. Let's just look at a few of these. And for these, I'll go through them a little bit faster because this would be only just a quick overview of those. For these, we have different DAX expressions. I'll just go through them very fast. So we'll talk about three patterns here. One is manager level access, and manager level access means that a user will see everything. An employee, let's say, will see their own data, but manager will see everything, right? So let's say manager view, see everything, employee view, see their own data, right? That is manager level access. And let me show you an example of that. Okay. So this is the example for manager level access. I still have the same two tables, right? The difference here is that I also have one extra field. This is exactly the same two tables. I have one extra field, and that field is saying that is this user a manager or not? Like this. Here you can see that, for example, if an employee or sales rep is a manager, it has a little 1 beside that, right? Okay, so what we should do in this view is that we still have that way of recognizing who is logged into the system, and that is using user principal name, right? So we still have that. But then based on this, you should determine, is this person a manager or not, right? So you know who is logged into the system, you know their email account. Let me go back to the table. You know this field. Based on this field, you want to find the other field, the is manager field. And the way that you can use it, I mean, there are different ways, different functions in DAX you can use it. But one of the ways is that, for example, if Reza logged in, go and find the record with the email Reza and return there is manager value, right? This can be done using lookup function, lookup value function. This can be done using filter and getting the first row out of it. This can be done in many different ways. Now here, I did it using the lookup value option. So here is my is manager check. So I created a measure. Again, we don't need this measure. I just created it to show you how it works. I have a measure. This measure is using a lookup value. And I'm saying that lookup value usually asks for 3 columns. Let me just bring it this way so you can see. What is my result column? The result column is manager. That is the column I want to see. Is it 1 or 0? What is the column I'm searching into? That is my email column, right? So the email column. And what is the value I'm searching for? I'm searching for the logged in user. So this, if you are coming from, let's say, SQL Server background or something like that, this looks like this, saying that select is manager where email is equal to user principal name. You can read it this way. Lookup value is a quite simple function to use and very useful. So this would say if this logged in user is manager, return 0, otherwise return 1, right? Very simple configuration again. Now, after doing that, right, something like this would be implemented in my row-level security configuration as well, right? Because that measure just created to show you how it works. Now, in the manage roles, we will have exactly the same thing, but with just one if statement that says if this returns 0, so if that whole thing, you see this lookup value is here. And again, you can just use the measure if you want, but I just copied it again here. So if this whole thing is 0, then this user is not a manager, right? If this user is not a manager, then use this role, right? So let me write it this way. So this is the condition. This is if condition. This is what happens if not manager, not manager. And this one, what happens if manager? Yes, so no, yes. If it is not manager, it would be exactly similar to the previous example you have seen. Their email field should match their user principal name. That means every user will see their own data. But then what happens if that user is manager? Then you see I wrote a true here. This expression, whatever this is in this expression, if this expression returns true, this is a conditional expression. If it returns true, that means users that are part of this role will see everything, right? So when I say true, that means these people will see everything in this report, right? So using just that simple if statement, it works like that. And again, if I want to test it and show it to you how it works right now, because this use my organizational email, and when I log in, it shows my local email. It doesn't work unless I go and change it, and I'll go and change it very quickly so that you can see. So I'll go and again put my account here. And I make myself also manager, right? That's very easy. Manager configuration setup. And then I go here and change that source to read from this location. Clicking OK, close, apply setting. This time you should see that this is showing the other measure, that this should show 1 because I'm the person who is manager. Now, if I log into this report, right, let me just go find, where was that? Okay, view as role. If I log into this report, because right now I'm the manager, I will see everything. Now I will go and demote myself from being manager. Let's say I'm not manager anymore, Leila is manager, or someone else is manager, or we don't have any manager at all, right? I just save that and I refresh this. This time you see that because I'm not a manager anymore, I just see my own data, right? So again, very simple configuration, and it doesn't really need you to update anything. You just create one role, and that role will give you all the result, right? So which is this one. Now, there are two more examples. I just show you one, and then we'll see how many questions we have. Depends on that, we might go to the other one. Okay, this is another example, users and profiles, which is very common use case scenario. Okay, not from the beginning, from that slide. Okay, so let's talk about this scenario. You don't always have users directly connected to your transaction tables because users change, right? A user come and go. Their situation changes. For example, you don't have one sales rep for United States. It's a big country. You might have 5 sales reps for United States, right? There is a profile for United States sales rep, and those users have access to that profile. And you might have one person sales rep of multiple countries for some reason. Let's say in Europe, 2 countries are very close to each other. So this sales rep is sales rep of 2. This user is sales rep of 2 countries. So the user and profile, their relationship is a many-to-many relationship using a user profile table. This says that which user has access to which profile, right? And that profile is a table that connects to the sales transaction. When we have sales transaction, it says that this is the sales transaction related to that profile, right? Now, what is the challenge for this implementation? You see the direction of relationship in here? These directions of relationship is the way that filter propagates in Power BI. If I have a filter applied in this table and I say their email account is equal to user principal name, this filter this table, of course. As a result, that would filter that table, right? Because the direction of relationship is that way, right? So it will filter the user profile table as well. However, it will not filter the other two tables. It looks like you have a wall here that doesn't allow the filter to come. And the reason is this relationship direction, because the direction of this relationship is saying that only pass filters from profile to user profile, not the other way around. Usually that is from one side of relationship to many side of relationship. Now, the simple way of solving it is, of course, coming and changing this to both directional relationship. That is simple, but it's not the best. It works just simply, right? You make it both directional, filter propagates here and there, and everything works just fine, right? But it's not the best because both directional relationship brings a performance issue on your model, right? So there is another way to do that, and that is what I'm going to show you here, right? Here you can see that I have exactly the same model, right? But I have defined the filter not in this table. I defined the filter in this table, because if I filter this table, if I define my role in here, that would filter that table, right? Regardless of whatever it is. Now in this table, however, my job is to find out what are profiles that this user has access. And that is what this lookup measure is about. So I'm just showing you that lookup measure. And again, this is just a measure view of that. In fact, this is used as a part of expression. So here I'm just getting one by one, let's say. So first I check is the user principal name is equal to email, then filter the user profile, and then return only profiles with that criteria, right? So I'm using actually two tables in this configuration. The email of the user table to be equal to user principal name, and I used related because I'm doing that from the user profile table. So there's a little bit of tax involved in these expressions, and then filter it to show that, and then just give me the profile column. This would be list of profiles that this user has access to. Now in my role, I also have something like this, which is exactly this part of select columns. So this part is giving me all profiles that this user has access, and I say the ID of the profile table should be in that result, right? And I filtered that in a profile table. You see those that are filtered has this little filter icon beside this, right? You see that I also filtered user table, and you might wonder, why is that? The user table filter doesn't really propagate all the way, and this should do everything we have. Now let's go back to our relationship model one more time. When I define that filter here, that role here, that would filter this, and it will filter that, but it will not filter this table. Let's say you have a place in your report that you see the actual name of the user, something like this, right? This won't get filtered because this table is not filtered because of this direction of relationship, right? So that is why I defined filter here and there, right? For this, the filter would be just email equal to user principal name. For that, the filter would be that expression, right? You see that profile is this, and this one is that, right? This would perform faster than making this both directional. I mean, making this both directional is simpler, but it's not the best way of doing it, right? Okay, and there is also one which is talking about organizational hierarchy, managers see all their direct reports and things like that, which I skip that for now just to see, do we have any questions? Okay, so is there a way to let some of my user manage their roles definition for other users without editing Power BI files? Yes, that's Michael asked that, and I guess you asked it when I presented the static role level security. Yes, if you do it dynamic, then all that your users need to do is to go and add users to this table, right? So usually this can be, let's say, a SQL Server table. You can have an application that people go and enter data for that. It can be an Excel file. People go and maintain that. They add more users. You don't need to edit your role. It's just needed that users be added in this table. Another question, if I create a report for many clients and I choose the data to be displayed by the client ID, is it security safe? I can do in RLS. Yes, I'm afraid the reason because it is filtered by me and not by the system. I may have bugs and I will display. I'm not sure exactly what you mean, but if you are, let's say this is a report I want to share with all of my clients, right? But I want them to see their own data. It is absolutely safe. You just need to make sure that you have defined the right role on the right table. Especially you see that when you have too many tables, it will become a little bit more complicated because you don't then apply filter only on one table. You might need to apply it on multiple tables to make sure that everything is filtered for that client. So as soon as you make sure those are all fine, then it is absolutely safe. Yes. Another question, can you dynamically change logo, picture, color shown in the report depending on the username? Unfortunately not. Visuals here doesn't have the effect of changing things based on the role. However, you can change them based on an expression. For example, just saying this because this question came along. Let's say, for example, I want this to be different color, right? Just like that, not a logo because that is a little bit different. But let's say I want this to be different color, the data label of that, and in the color I have this conditional formatting, right? In the conditional formatting, I can go and say, okay, choose this based on a fixed value, and I choose a measure here, right? Now that measure can say if this user is this, then show green or show red, something like that, right? But the thing is that it won't be about role level security anymore. It would be just conditional formatting and expression like that. You can do that with colors, things like this, but you cannot do that with changing a logo. That won't be a possible option yet, unless they make also changing the logo or image possible. Or let me just think about it. Yeah, you might be able to do that. I think you can do logo like this. For example, you can have a field here that is their logo URL, right? Logo image URL. Then you use that field in card visual, whatever, because when it is image URL, it will show you the actual image. And when the report is filtered for that user, this would be that user logo. Yeah, of course, why not? So possible. Okay, we have just a couple of minutes, so let me just show you the last one, and I'm not going to, again, go to the details of that. Organizational hierarchy is a little bit different. It is like this, that you have an organizational chart. For example, Lindsay, her manager is Amy. So when Amy logs in, Amy should see her own data and Lindsay's data, but not David's data. When Reza logs in, should see all of these, right? That is also possible using a different approach, which is organizational hierarchy. Just showing you that very quickly. So that would be this one. In this one, you can use a set of functions in DAX. We call it path functions or parent-child functions. And then when you use those functions, they are really simple functions, but very helpful, very efficient functions. So my table looks like this. My user table looks like this. Don't worry about other columns. Only look at these columns for now, right? My table is like this. ID, email, manager ID. And the manager ID is pointing out to the ID itself. So this shows that the manager for this user, for David, manager is 1, Reza. Or for example, for Lindsay, manager is number 5, and number 5 is another record here, which is Emmy. Manager of that is number 1, and number 1 is again looking at here, right? Path functions are a set of functions that reveals this. So these functions that you see are path functions. They give you the entire path hierarchy. For example, here it says that Lindsay is user ID 8, manager of that is 5, manager of that is 1, right? It gives you the hierarchy, an exact hierarchy like that, right? Now you can use a very simple DAX expression here that says if the path contains that value. Right. Again, I'm not going to the details of this because it will take time, but that path functions will do the trick here. Now, there is also another option, which is organizational hierarchy and many-to-many combined, which would be a little bit bigger DAX code. I skipped that. You can actually read through all of these using my blog articles. I've written blog article about each of these. As Shalomi mentioned, I've written a book as well, which is available. You can purchase it from Amazon about rollable security. And if you look for some Power BI general learning, look at my Power BI from Rocky to Rockstar book, which is free, available in our website. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Reza. Thank you very much. I put your website link on the chat.
Great, thank you.
On the right-hand side, with all the details, the blog, your article, your wonderful articles that I read regularly. And I hope all the attendees that are still here was enjoy this webinar. I have some pools that it's like questions that you can now you can see the pools, you can see the questions, and you can answer it. אוקיי. זה בעצם שאלון שאתם יכולים לענות. אוקיי, ניתן עוד איזה... אוקיי. אוקיי. ובזמן שאתם עונים, אז מה שאמרתי לכם בהתחלה בעצם, בתחילת הוובינר, אני שם פה בעצם קישור דקה אחת, אני שם פה קישור להצעה שבעצם מי שישתתף בוובינר הזה, יוכל להירשם לקורס שלי בהנחה מסוימת, הנחה נוספת אפילו, אפשר להגיד. שנייה אחת, אני רק אעתיק את הקישור הזה אוקיי. לקורס אינטרנטי בפאוור BI. אוקיי, קישור. דף הנחה. אוקיי, זה הקישור לדף ההנחה. מי שמעוניין לעבור קורס שלם, של 3 ימים, בעצם בפאוור BI, אני מלמד מההתחלה ועד הסוף, בעיקר לכאלה שמתחילים עם פאוור BI ורוצים לקבל את הבסיס, אז אתם מוזמנים כמובן להירשם. זה הכל. I want to thank you, Raza. Thank you very much for your time and efforts.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. It was a pleasure being with you all.
Thank you very much, and I hope we'll make another webinar soon, maybe in a few weeks from now.
Sure.
And if you come to Israel, you're most welcome.
Thank you. After all of these problems, it's over, hopefully.
Yeah. Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you all. תודה לכולם.
Have a good day.
Thank you very much. תודה לכולם על ההשתתפות, מאחל לכם חג שמח, תעשו רק טוב ותהיו בריאים. ביי, להתראות לכם. ביי, תודה.